everyone, welcome back to another episode of Between the Bricks. Between the Bricks is my new show here on YouTube where I just basically tell you stories. I fill you in on what's going on in my life, what's gone on in my life, the past, all that stuff. We're really getting between the bricks here, between what made my YouTube channel, between what grew me into the person I am today with the hobby I am today. Basically, it's an all-in-one series. 2 weeks ago, I uploaded my very first episode all about my journey getting into the Lego. So basically, from when I was a kid, like 3, 4, 5 years old, all the way to 2008 for my 9th birthday when I remember getting like my first major Lego set. I had a lot of fun filming that episode. It was so much fun going through all the old pictures and photos and all those old memories, and you guys seem to really enjoy it as well. So that's why I'm so excited to be here today with another episode. So this episode's not really so much about history, but it kind of stemmed from the Asperk episode I made last week where I was talking about my experiences working at the Lego store and more specifically about how I got hired. So today's episode is all going to be about how I got hired at my Lego store, that entire process and the story around it, because I've never really told it before. So I'm very excited to be able to tell you this story today. Unfortunately, there are no visuals to go along with it just because I obviously didn't film the hiring process, but I'm still really excited to tell you all about it. So stay tuned because let's get right into the second episode of Between the Bricks. Alright, so this story really goes back all the way to March of 2019, so just over 2 years ago now, probably coming right up on the 2-year mark actually, because it's about the middle of March when I'm filming this. But anyway, I was just agreed with my parents that I was going to live in Toronto for the summer. I was very excited about it. It was my very first time ever going to be living in Toronto. I wasn't going to go home like I normally do, and I was also in the process of securing the lease for the studio. So all in all, it was a very exciting month, and I knew I needed a part-time job to be able to pay for things. So they wanted me to work, somewhere a little in my industry, somewhere with a pretty decently paying job, preferably not minimum wage, and a lot of hours so I could get a lot of money. Well, I ended up working at the Lego store. Not a lot of hours and not a lot of money, but it was still a really exciting experience. And of course, that's why you're here. You're here to listen to that story about how I got hired. So while I was searching for jobs and things like that, I was all over the job boards, the classic Indeed, Canada Jobs, all that great stuff. Basically just applying anywhere and anywhere. I was really trying not to work like minimum wage, like fast food or something like that, but I was pretty open for anything else. I remember thinking, oh, and maybe I even saw the listing on one of the job boards, so I was like, I should definitely check out the Lego website. So I went over to the Lego website and saw that they were hiring. I actually applied to 2 different Lego stores, one at the Sherway Gardens and one at the Yorkdale Lego Store Mall where I ended up working. The Sherway Gardens one was posted several months earlier, so I don't even think they were still hiring. I got pretty much declined right away. And then the Yorkdale one, a few days after I applied, I was selected for an interview, which I was very, very excited about. When I applied, I don't remember doing anything crazy fancy or anything like that. I probably wrote a cover letter and a resume, and I know I definitely would have included my YouTube channel on my resume because that was one of my biggest things I was worried about when I was applying for this job, is I didn't want them to find out I have a YouTube channel. It's like secretly, I wanted them to know right off the bat, hey, I've got a YouTube channel. I hope this isn't a problem. I still want to be considered for this role. So yeah, I definitely did the things that you typically apply. You affiliate your application and stuff like that online. I ended up getting either a call back, I think it was an email actually inviting me to the interview. It was supposed to be a group interview, and I couldn't make it that day. For whatever reason, I had something else on, and I emailed her back, and I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry. This is the assistant manager, who wasn't my assistant manager yet because I wasn't hired. But I was like, hey, I'm really sorry I can't actually make this interview. I've got a previous commitment. Is there anything we could do to find a new time? I thought for sure my chances were screwed at this point because there's not often like a recruiter will be so accommodating, especially with a group interview for a minimum wage job. Like they'll just find somebody else. It's not that hard. But she answered. She was super nice. She was like, yeah, no worries. Totally. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Just come the next day for a one-on-one interview. So I was like, perfect. So I was pretty excited. So I remember getting up like super early to get ready because my interview was just before lunchtime. So I wanted to get there, make sure everything was okay. I remember it was a day in March. I was really excited for it. Like I wanted to get dressed up, but obviously not full suit and tie because it's a retail job. But at the same time, I was like, ooh, I really want this job. I commuted all the way to Yorkdale. I got there like an hour early, which was I just didn't know how long it would take, and I definitely didn't want to be late to this interview. So I took the subway there, like my second time, I think, ever going to Yorkdale, maybe my third. So it was a pretty nerve-wracking experience. I got to the mall, and I wanted to go right to the Lego store, obviously, but I was way too early. They were going to think I was nuts, so I had to stick around and wait it out in the mall. I think that was probably the hardest part about doing this interview was I couldn't actually go to the Lego store and shop. Like I knew I was there for an interview and that would have been really unprofessional. So I just waited in the mall, waited down the hallway from the Lego store until about 10 minutes before my time. And then of course that's when I went in to meet the manager who was interviewing me that day. So I walked up to the Lego store, pretty nervous because I really wanted this position. I knew I really wanted this role. And I walked into the store. I went right up to, there was 2 brick specialists standing right there, one male, one female. And I went up and I'm like, hey, I'm here to see blank for an interview. And the lady goes, oh, I'll be right back. Let me go get her. She walks to the very back, took off her apron, and she came back out and reintroduced herself. She goes, hi, I'm the manager. I'm here to do your interview. So I was like, oh no, I was kind of nervous because I didn't realize at that point the managers were right on the floor with you. They're normally, any place I've worked, they're always hidden in the back. Nope, not at Lego. They're right out at the front with you. So I was like, oh, this is so cool. So she ended up grabbing a poly bag as well. And we started walking to the food court area because it was before lunch, and that's where we were going to do the interview. We took a seat there. She gave me the poly bag, and on the way there, I should preface this, we were walking, and I was definitely pretty nervous. Now, looking back, I realized I was nervous, but at the time, I was like, I'm playing it cool. I'm a cool guy. Like, it'll be fine. No. But anyway, we're walking there. She asked me if I know anything about Lego, like just like a kind of a pre-interview interview, just random questions to get to know me. I right away was like, I have a YouTube channel. I love Lego. And like, it was pretty awkward probably. She was probably like, alrighty then. But I went to over there. We sat down. She asked a few questions. I ended up building a thing. It was actually this set right here. I know I have it. Oh, right here. It was a mini build from April or March of 2019, right when I was interviewed, maybe even February. This is the mini build. They used the extra models of these to give to each of the candidates during the group interview that I couldn't attend the day before. Everybody was required to build something, I think, that reminded them of something special. So I remember building this set. I built it into a camera. Obviously, now I've gone back and rebuilt it into the actual boat it should be. But at the time, I definitely just built a camera and explained why I was passionate about that. In the interview, she asked me all the questions you'd expect to get asked in a regular job interview. Yes, there was a few ones tailored towards Lego, and yes, I tried to tailor my answer towards Lego. However, I really focused on my actual skills and things that would get me a retail job, not a Lego job. And I think that was a really differentiating factor. I used to see when I worked there all the time, people would come in and be like, I'm passionate about Lego, hire me. That's great, you're passionate about Lego, but like, this is a store. And that was a big part, and I realized that really early on, is that it is a store. They do need to make money. They need people who are good retail, retail experience, customer service experience, all of that stuff. They don't care if you're passionate about Lego. That's a huge plus to know about the product, but it's not the only thing that's going to get you through the door. So when I did my interview, I kind of recognized that, and I wanted to play off my skills and experiences that weren't based off my Lego hobby, but just, my skills in general. So I did the interview. I think I did pretty well because I got the job. I was still pretty nervous, and I was always trying to add on to my answers, a feeling they weren't enough or I wasn't giving answers long enough, and I think that was a really big fear that I was having. But I did the interview. It probably lasted like 15, 20 minutes. Definitely took me longer to tell the story than just do the interview. But after that, it was pretty much over. She said, hey, let's come back to the store now. I want you to meet the other store manager, who was the team lead at the time. And she goes, I just want you to meet him, say hi, sort of thing. So we go back. The other guy, we walk in. She goes, this is Brad. Do you want to ask him a few questions? He's like, yeah, sure. So he goes to the back, takes his apron off. He comes back out. And we start talking. And it was really funny because at this point I'm a little, I'm kind of calmed down. However, on the walk back to the store, my manager, and as much as I love her, she's very, very blunt. She turns to me and she goes, why were you so nervous at the start of this interview? And I was like, what? She goes, is this your first job interview? Like you were so nervous. And I was like, oh no, I don't know, I guess I was just excited. Like, I didn't think I was nervous. Fully played it off. Even though I knew I was nervous, I was stressed for this interview. Probably more stressed than I've been for actual job interviews in the past. But yeah, she could tell, and she called me right out, and I'm like, oh no. So then I go back and I talk to this guy. He asked me a few questions. He comes out and he goes, to be honest, when you first walked into the store, I didn't think we were going to hire you, but I hear that so-and-so really likes you. And he just asked me a few more questions about, why I wanted to work at Lego, my role, different things that I was passionate about. We just chatted. It was a really good conversation. So then he ended it off. He's like, thanks so much for coming in. You'll hear from us in a few days. I didn't think I got the job. The way he came out and said, yeah, you came in so nervous, we weren't going to even do the interview, versus the girl who called me right out for being nervous. Like, I was like, oh crap. This was not a very good experience, but I did it. I went home, took the subway home, didn't even buy anything at the Lego store, but got all the way home, and I remember my roommate was there, and I was like, I'm so mad. Like, I don't think I got this job. Like, it was a really easy. I could have aced this interview. I got too nervous. I was ticked off. To be frank with you, I was ticked off. Yeah, and that's at that point I really didn't think I was going to get the job at the Lego store. And then the very next day I was, sitting at my office at school, and I got a phone call from Lego. And I was like, oh my God. And I answered it, and it was my manager. And she goes, hey, we loved you at the interview yesterday. We'd love to offer you the job. I could not say yes fast enough. This is, this is the very next day after I did my interview, so it was very, very fast. She's like, yeah, we just need you to come and confirm a few things and sign some paperwork. And I was like, cool, can I be there in an hour? I think I had something on that night even. I just was so afraid they might revoke my offer. So I raced right there, got right on the subway from school, went all the way to Yorkdale, signed all my paperwork after hours, no, it was like after working hours, but like they were still open. I was just so excited. I wasn't being paid. And I got the job at Yorkdale. I started April 1st of 2019, the day that the Steamboat Willie actually came out, which is pretty cool. That was one of the first sets I remember wanting to buy, but we couldn't for the longest time because of it, and then the discount doesn't start. But anyway, I just remember I started May 1st, was super, super excited to get in there, super excited to get working. I was hired at the same time as 2 other individuals. They were both hired from the group interview. I was the only one not hired from the group interview. So again, I feel really fortunate that my manager at the time let me do an interview without being in the group, because again, they don't really do that. And yeah, they said a few months after I started how nervous I was the day. They'll never forget how nervous I was when I first started at the Lego store. When I first came to the interview, they honestly did not think they were going to hire me. They didn't think they were going to like me at all. And then they realized afterwards, oh my God, it's because he was just so excited to be at the Lego store. And that's what the store lead actually pointed out to my manager in the back room when she's like, oh, he seems so nervous. And then he goes, oh yeah, I think he was just passionate and excited. So I'm really glad that they decided to take advantage of that and, bring me onto the team. I was there for about 7 months. I wish I could have been there longer. I fully wouldn't have left if I didn't have to. But things got really crazy in my personal life, and it was going to be a choice between part-time work, YouTube, my student government, my school, and all my other commitments. So I had to unfortunately drop work because I obviously just signed a lease for this place. I couldn't leave it yet. But yeah, that's basically my story about applying at the Lego store. I think I had a pretty unique experience, given the fact that my manager thought I was too nervous to even do the interview, or wasn't going to hire me based off the first few minutes and how I kind of perceived myself in the interview. But I'm really glad they gave me a chance, really glad that I got the opportunity to work at the Lego store. And again, anybody who's watching this video and is going to be applying to your Lego store, like I said, really focus on your skills and, your area of expertise that would allow you to succeed in any retail environment. They're really not looking for people who are passionate about Lego and just know everything about the product. That's important. Product knowledge is key. However, they're really looking for the retail experiences, because you can learn about the product easy, but it's not as easy to learn those skills. So definitely take that as with a grain of salt, because I'm not a hiring manager. But apply to the Lego store. It was a really, really great experience. I had a lot of fun working there. As you can see, it was a lot of fun in the hiring process. It went really, really fast, so I'm pretty grateful for that. Once my initial cover letter and application was submitted to when I got the interview, to then the very next day actually getting the job. Crazy, crazy experience. I had a great time when I was there. Even though I almost didn't get hired. But yeah, that's basically my story about how I got hired at the Lego store. It's not anything too crazy, but it is pretty unique, because how many people can say they pretty much bombed the interview, yet we're still given a chance? So forever grateful for that. Love and miss the people that I used to work at the Lego store with. It's a great place to work, and I highly recommend it if you get the chance. So anyway, thanks so much for watching episode number 2 of Between the Bricks. This episode all about how I got hired at the Lego store. Thanks again so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and of course subscribe. And of course, leave any suggestions that you want to see for future Between the Bricks episode here on my YouTube channel. I'm really open to making a couple different episodes and, telling you many of my different stories. So I'd love to hear what stories you want to hear. But anyway, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.